Hi, I'm Lydia Gable with Compass, and I'm so excited to be here for another edition of Realtor Reels. And I'm excited to introduce to you an amazing agent that we work with, Patrick Cashdan. Welcome.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So what we want to talk about is, first of all, you've been with us for over 3 years. Very consistent. Buyers and sellers are just super lucky to work with you. So just appreciate you being with us, and your buyers and sellers are just loving working with you.
Oh, well, it's a product of the systems that we have in place, and I've learned kind of so much since joining the team. It's been really great.
I thought what we would talk about today, because we're hearing a little bit about buyer fatigue. You have been working relentlessly through COVID and just like through this year, and talk to us a little bit about what does buyer fatigue mean to you, and how do you identify when a buyer is going through buyer fatigue, and why is it occurring?
Well, buyer fatigue, unfortunately, is a real thing. I think it stems from agents not preparing their clients correctly, kind of going through the steps needed in this market to really kind of win on their offers. It's naturally frustrating to kind of lose out on 2, 3, 4 houses. But the question is, how do I make my clients feel good even when we lose out on offers, and keep them motivated to continue looking and finding the right home for them?
So let's talk to our audience and just kind of like, I love that. So when you first meet with a buyer, how do you explain to them kind of what's going on in the market? I mean, so how do you avoid buyer fatigue?
I try to avoid buyer fatigue by doing the best I can efficiently, by giving them the data of what's going on, the reality of what's going on in the market. It flummoxes buyers when they see these prices go up so quickly, and it is naturally, again, discouraging. But I think the good thing about getting into a house in this market is you ride the wave of appreciation, because there's something kind of nice to be said about being a homeowner that closes in, let's say, March, but then all of a sudden they see their home value go up $50,000 by the end of August in this case. So I think that you kind of keep those motivating factors in play, and then by the number standpoint, it really is worth it getting into this market, especially with low interest rates.
So I want to go back to your strategy, and let's look at the camera a little bit, just like,
yeah,
because it's hard because you're on with me and I'm asking you questions. When you talk to us about when you first meet with a buyer, how do you prepare them for what they're going on, and just kind of talk about your strategy on laying it out for them?
Well, whenever I sit down with a buyer, I do want to pull up, it's simple to kind of pull up the comps, but what you really want to do is listen to what they need. I think that agents really kind of fall back on, let's wait for the next right house to come up, rather than focusing on what can the buyer kind of live with, and what are their 2 or 3 most kind of needed items in a house, whether it's price, location, but what are the intangible factors that are making them want to move? Kind of going through your buyer's consultation, it's important to really show different areas, different neighborhoods, and then touring them around. And I think knowing the inventory, kind of knowing the kind of an economic forecast of what's going to happen, hopefully in the next 4 months or 5 months, while we can't kind of predict the future, it's important to be up to date on kind of what's going on economically, to really make sure your buyers feel comfortable moving forward with submitting offers and stuff like that.
So what I'm hearing you say is you're kind of asking them their why. What's their motivation for moving?
Exactly.
And you're trying to identify the top 2 or 3 reasons that they called you initially to want to move.
100%. And life happens. The why sometimes can change, but it's really what's the largest kind of pain point. Is it, as time goes on, is it rents going up? Is it the situation that you need to move? Is it just going to get kind of worse? Is it the house kind of getting smaller and smaller as kind of kids are growing up and kind of getting older and older? So keeping them motivated really has to kind of gravitate away from their pain points and hopefully towards the next kind of nice chapter in their lives.
So you've met with them, you've identified their why or their motivation, and you start showing houses. And they're used to HGTV and everything being beautiful, and so their expectations might not be reality. Is that true?
That does seem to be the case. Fortunately for HGTV, it makes everything look much easier than it is, and it's our job to kind of follow through with that as much as we can. But the reality is that it's really a treacherous, nebulous of a market right now. And I think preparing kind of your buyers for that and kind of pointing to why they're going to win in this market is really the most important. Kind of when you're showing houses, it's important to kind of make sure they understand, can I live with certain things? Can I not live with certain things? And from an investment standpoint, is this house going to make me either, kind of pointing back to the why, is this house going to make me the most happy based on why I'm looking for a house already?
So you keep going, referring back to that why.
You have to.
Right. Okay, so now I'm writing offers. I found a house, right, and you've kind of settled me in onto what reality is in this marketplace. And I know you are, for example, working with a buyer right now that you're submitting a lot of offers for.
For sure.
And sometimes it does take a lot of times to write an offer. How are you avoiding that buyer from getting frustrated or continuing to move on and understand you might have to write X amount of offers in order to eventually win one? Like, that's where the real buyer fatigue comes in, right?
It does. And I think the way that I've learned and how I've kind of grown into having more comfortable conversations when it comes to that specifically, because inventory is still super low, there is certainly a learning curve. And whether it's someone who's renting right now, an experienced homeowner, I am seeing that we have to go through 2 or 3 houses to get to the one. Kind of like when you sign up for anything, you like to think that just because you're telling me how to do something, I know that I can figure out a way to do it maybe a little bit better. So I'll try it a couple of times. And if and when that doesn't work out, I'm going to naturally kind of go back to you, my agent, what have you in this case, and say, okay, what do we actually need to do to get towards success? Whenever I'm writing offers, I want to make sure that if we're in a multiple offer situation, it's always good to kind of go to where you're most comfortable, even kind of on the border of not being comfortable, whether it's location or price or what have you. Because if we lose out, that means that someone else had to go above our price and above our own means to go win the house. And I think when you go back to let's only make the right decisions, whether it's we lose out on a house, if we do our best for an offer or if we do our best price-wise for a house and we lose out, that's a great decision still because we tried our best and someone else just wanted it more for means that are just outside of ours right now.
So you're able to kind of keep that buyer at ease because that you have strategized. It's not always price, right? It's not always price. So I just wanted to clarify that. It's different strategies and terms, and we're not talking about strategizing the offer, but
Absolutely.
It could be different things. But if that buyer loses the house, you are somehow uplifting that buyer to like not be so upset and go, well, you tried your best, you were ready to lose it at whatever decisions you had made.
Exactly.
And let's go out and get the next one, kind of thing.
100%. And actually, I had that text message yesterday. It was, hey man, I have bad news. It looks like the house went for a price that was kind of beyond our means. And it was a great text back from him saying, that's not bad news at all. And so on the other side, I think it does kind of stem from agents not communicating correctly rather than kind of just saying, look, we tried our best. Someone else wanted it more for a price that you didn't want. It's not you, it's not me, it's the market. Let's continue looking because now I know I can build trust with you.
I love it.
Yeah.
Any last words of wisdom to avoid buyer fatigue, or how are you avoiding agent fatigue working with those buyers?
Well, that's what we get paid the big bucks for. So I don't know what agent fatigue is, but no, when you have the right systems in place, the right scripting in place, I think it's on the agent to really set their own bar of expectation for themselves to run their business. Because on one hand, you do want to work with every single client possible. On the other hand, if the buyer just kind of isn't really doing what you're advising, whether it's the right advice or not. And after you go to your team leader to make sure that you're giving the right advice, you need to keep lead generating, and you need to keep finding new buyers who will kind of listen to your guidance.
Good head on your shoulders.
Oh, thank you.
Good, probably morning routine you have.
Absolutely. It's been changing, but much better.
Good, good, good. So your mindset is in a good spot, and clients are super lucky to work with you.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm happy to be here.
So if you are interested in working with him, contact the number at the bottom of the screen. We'll flash it on. Patrick is amazing. Really, if you read his reviews, clients are so happy to be working with him, and you always take the time, and you always do the right thing for the client. And so, super grateful that you joined us today.
Oh, it was great to be here.
Talking about avoiding buyer and agent fatigue in this kind of a market. And we'll catch you next time on Realtor Reels.